Hello, everyone listening to the podcast. This is Arun in Denmark. Today, I'm going to talk about, or rather, discuss about a topic that I have not yet spoken much about. I will be talking about mental fitness, and joining with me on the other side is Rabail. Rabail, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Rabail, give us a short little introduction about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rabail. I am 23 years old. I was born in Denmark, but I was raised in Pakistan. During my teenage years, mainly towards the end, I really got interested into the human mind and how the human mind works. I really got interested that how the human mind works and what drives the human behavior. How can we think, feel, and perform better? It was a very good time for me to dive into the human mind because it was a point where I was at my lowest. It was a point where I lacked purpose. I felt unfulfilled, and I was at a point that was it just lacked purpose. So it was a very good time for me to understand the human mind and to dive into it, that what's really psychology and how does the human mind work.
Hmm.
um, I started studying as a student of construction architecture, and as I started to study, I really found out that my passion for the human mind got even deeper. But I decided to keep it as a hobby. I didn't want it to affect my studies, and I really wanted it to be as a hobby and not affect my studies. So that's what I did. I didn't let it affect my studies, and I continued my education, and I kept this hobby of mine. Um, I was working on it. It was my passion, but I didn't let it affect. So I graduated January 2024, and as I graduated, I had some time in between, and I was planning to get a job after my graduation, and my plan A was to get a job. And if I didn't get a job, my plan was to go for a master's. I was really interested in getting a job because I just wanted to get into the corporate life, and I was very pumped to just get with the corporate world and get started. So that's what I did, and I sent out almost 100 job applications. I was that curious, but I didn't get a job. My plan B was to go for a master's, and that's what I have ended up in doing because I didn't find a job, which I was really hoping to. But during this time, I really made sure that I just made full use of it. I didn't want to waste it in any sort of way. And when I had some while in between, I really made sure that I dived into the human mind because that was something that really, gave me passion and was something uh, that that would just amaze me. So during this time, I read a lot of different books, I listened to a lot of podcasts, and most importantly, I joined two different communities. The first one is it's called Remap. It's led by Myra Chora. She is UK's leading visualization expert. And then the second one was this. I'm still a member of it. It's called the Speaking Academy. It's led by Yasir Khan. So there, my aim was to get better at public speaking. But I want to tell something here that I didn't just get better at public speaking. My communication didn't just get better, but my whole perspective of life and the way I see life have just changed. Not saying that I didn't know what to do in life before, but during this time period, all what that happened as I joined this community, it really made me a different person. I started to look at life completely differently, and my communication got better, that's for sure. But I really found out that I am worth much more and I can do anything I want to. So it was a great decision, and I'm forever grateful that I made it, and I'm really happy. And during this time period, another thing what I did, which I'm really proud of, was that I started to share my self development journey on LinkedIn. So the reason I started to share my self development journey on LinkedIn was because I've had my own fair share of struggles. As much as I talk about resilience and hard work and how much strong I have become now, When I was struggling and when I was having my own fair share of struggles, it wasn't very easy. I had to experiment with the different tools and what worked and what didn't work. And now I know that I'm in a very good place, but at that point it was a very dark place and it was a very scary place to be in because I was hopeful. Definitely, that's the reason I'm here. But it was there was a lot of uncertainty and there was a lot of fear attached to it, whether it will
Mm.
work or whether it won't work. And I tried everything and I was experimenting and it worked. Now, the reason I share my journey on LinkedIn is I share tips and tools to develop a resilient mindset because I don't want anyone to suffer from it. If anyone is going through something similar, they can just use the tools and techniques in instant without going through the depth and the hard work I went through because I know how it feels and I don't want people to go through similar feelings I had to. I also know that I might not resonate with everyone, but I'm sure that few people will definitely connect to me and this voice is for them. And I want to give this assurance that I'm here and I hear you. And there's this very famous analogy of Simon Sinek. He says, sit in the mud with me. And by sitting in the mud with me, he says that don't give me advice, don't tell me what to do, just sit in the mud with me. Like, just hear me out. And I think this is just so profound that we don't acknowledge and we don't give this ear to listen. We don't accept how people are feeling and we just don't hear people. And I think it's very important. We all have our days. I have my bad days, you have your bad days. And when someone says that I'm here for you, I think it takes half of your burden away. So it's really important that we start focusing on this aspect. And also, not just that, but as I was studying here in Denmark as a student of construction architecture, I was studying in a country where I always wanted. I was pursuing education in Denmark. It was my dream. I was sane, I was healthy, I had every opportunity at my doorstep. But I still felt that something was missing. There was just this thing missing, and in order to fill in the gaps, what I did, I tried every single thing when it comes to physical fitness. I would hit the gym several times a week. I tried cold showers. I reduced my sugar intake. I made sure I was hydrated. I tried every single thing when it comes to physical fitness. Things really started to change when I started to give importance to how I'm feeling in here, accepting my feelings, doing the deep work, journaling, questioning my beliefs, accepting my emotions. It really changed the trajectory of my life. And even now, I see people that they are doing everything when it comes to physical fitness, but even then, they are overwhelmed, they are stressed, they are tired. Why is that so? Because they are not acknowledging their feelings, they are not doing the work. We are just numbing ourselves with work, with social media, with food. We are not focusing on the mental aspect. I just think that it is so important that we start giving it the importance it needs, and it will just change the way you show up in your life. It has improved my confidence, my mindset, and how I appear with myself and with my family. So it's very important. And there's also this very, it's very
Rabail,
common that, yeah,
before we head into that, I think that was a pretty lengthy introduction by you, but I actually liked your enthusiasm and energy in spending time to explain and elaborate the things that I've been doing. I will try to help you out with two things today, and that is, of course, the audience is listening to this podcast. You can already notice that Rabail has a lot of information, and she's having everything in her fingertips that she could able to, talk on the flow, which we really like. I will start with few questions before that, okay?
of course,
And
go ahead.
help me guide as well. Um, so I had similar experiences in the past. Several years before, I had the best job. I had everything I needed, but I also lacked the, I would say, the organizational skills. How do I structure my day? Where do I spend my time outside work? How can I be efficient in what I do? And these are the things that I was not really good with back in the days. 2 years gone past, I've learned so much in terms of organization, how to plan my day, how to plan after work, and it took me some, let's say, toll. For example, health wise, I was, let's say, might be that some of the days I had to go to bed late and wake up early. So there has been some compromises in terms of, let's say, work life imbalance. But of course,
Yes.
being in Denmark, the only luxury I had is I had so much time that I could plan, and I was able to visualize how can I spend quality time myself and also to the organization that I work for. Question to you is,
Yes.
you studied a program in Denmark, and this mental fitness journey was an inspiration when you were in school, in your university, or only after graduation? When did you exactly thought about this in the first place?
It was mainly when I started to feel unfulfilled, when I was at a point which was lowest in my life, where I lacked
Mm,
purpose. It was
okay.
then when I started to dive into psychology and
Mm,
understand what it is and what's happening in the mind, because I just felt that no one can help me except myself.
mm,
Also, because I just felt that I was different. Growing up, I was
mm,
extremely sensitive. I
mm,
always felt I was different, and I just felt my emotions were all over the place, and I would just feel more despite
mm,
having the most supportive parents and the most
mm,
supportive sister. I just felt that I was different, and
mm.
that made me think, and that made me dive into psychology on my own. I just felt
Okay.
that, not that I didn't get help, I did, but
Mm,
I really had to understand myself before someone else could do that.
mm. Okay. And now that I could see that you had some form of, let's say, mental awareness, or let's say self-realization, so you chose to do something for yourself. And now you have two things to do on your plate right now. You have a full-time job, and you also
Yes,
have this ambitious project about mental fitness.
yes.
Where do you see yourself, this venture of yours, in the next coming years? You wanted to build a community. I could already see that with your passion. But having a full-time job, how do you see this nurturing for the next coming years?
I completed my education
Mm,
because I didn't want to give up. So
mm,
I ended up in construction architecture not because of myself, but because I was so uncertain what to do in life that someone else had to, tell me what to do. I always had good artistic skills. I was always creative, but I wanted to do psychology at that point, but I was very
mm.
uncertain. I was skeptical whether I should take the decision to do it or not. No one in my family had taken that route, so I
Okay.
struggled to make a decision. So my sister told me one day that, Rabil, you have good artistic skills, you are creative, go for this degree.
Mm,
There are
mm,
promising career opportunities and you're going to do amazing. I was like, okay, she's guiding me. Why not? Let's give it a shot. I might, be happy. Or I might find my purpose, or this might be my purpose. So
mm,
that's what I did. I started studying, but as I entered the education, I realized very earlier on that it wasn't something for me. It was
mm,
a subject, or it was a degree which required you to be, or me to be, very good in subjects like maths and physics. I was never a technical person. And
mm,
this field really required me to be technical, and I was
mm,
not, and I really struggled. But I had this thing inside me that I didn't want it to give up. Growing up, I always felt that I wasn't enough and I had to prove myself to my parents and the world, even though no one ever told me that I have to produce certain results. My sister, on the
mm,
contrary, was producing she secured straight A stars, she was a high performer, but I, on the
mm,
contrary, was an average student. So I
mm,
had this thing deep inside me that I have to do something, I have to prove myself, I have to prove the world, and that's what I did. I realized very earlier on that it wasn't something for me, but quitting was not an option. I just
mm,
had to, continue, and that's what I did. I now
mm,
realize that it might not have been a very good, thing to do. If
mm,
you are not, if you think it's not right, and if you're unsure about something, and if you're skeptical, and if you're getting the gut feeling, you shouldn't continue. But I did that because I didn't want to
mm,
be a quitter. I wanted to prove my family that I can do it, and that's what I did. And It took me twice as much as time as an average person would spend on an ordinary project, but I did that. And it was
Mm-hmm.
very difficult because at that point I wasn't in a very good mental state also. So it was added pressure, but I did that. Now, now even when I talk about the job I wanted to do was because I wanted to start somewhere and still, work on this mental fitness aspect, which is my passion, because I don't really know I know what to do. I'm really clear now what to do, but I don't know what the opportunities are going to be like for me. So I'm not really focused on the journey right now. Like the outcome, I mean, I'm focused on the journey, but not the outcome, where it's going to head, what's whether I'll be making that company or not. But I'm just enjoying the process, and I'm happy to help people. And let's see where life goes. But I really don't feel like going back into the construction world because it doesn't drive me, and I think life is too short to not follow your heart.
No. So, so I could actually see that your heart and mind flows towards your initiative, the venture that you're talking about. Allow me to ask you some questions about mental fitness, right? I'm trying to understand the term.
Yeah, yeah, go for
Of
it.
course, physical fitness, everybody knows that I go to gym, I work out, build muscles. Physically, I could see something happening in my body.
Yes.
And mental fitness, I think a lot. Sometimes I even think too much that I get headache. So
Yeah, yeah.
what does mental fitness mean? Thinking too much, or thinking the right way, or is it how to think in a better way, how to think, get things done in a better way? Teach me about mental fitness.
Okay, so like we go to the gym, right? We go to
Yeah,
the gym because we know it's good for our health. We don't wait for a disease to hit us that we'll go to the
yeah,
gym. We
yeah,
don't go to the gym because we are obese right now, but we go to
yeah.
the gym because we know that it's good for our health. Then
Mm,
why do we wait for our mental health to get worse, to be on the edge, or to be at a state where we can't function? It's then that we start focusing on mental fitness and on
mm,
the mental aspect. It's then when we start thinking, okay, now we have to do something. We have to maybe go to the doctor. We maybe have to do some reflection, ask ourselves, and all the things related to it. But just like physical fitness, that we don't have to wait for that disease to hit. We just show up to the gym. That's the same for mental fitness. I would say even easier. Going to the gym might require you to get ready and put your clothes together and head to the gym, and it requires a lot of effort. Mental fitness
yeah.
requires nothing. Just if you're having a lot of thoughts, take out a piece of paper and write all of your thoughts into the piece of paper. I guarantee you that if you sit with the intention that all your thoughts are going on the piece of paper, they eventually go. I mean,
Mm,
if you're having a lot of thoughts and you are really thinking that they're holding you back, and you don't know how to focus on things, and you are very much distracted, those thoughts we get, which we don't understand which one should be focused on. We are getting so many thoughts. For that
I
aspect,
get a
it's
lot of thoughts. In
yes.
fact, I wanted to cut you here. Uh, when I go to gym, I think I never went and focused on fitness in the past. I was like I had a sedentary lifestyle. I eat good food. I used to play badminton a lot in the past, and I still do occasionally, and I walk a lot. But I also had issues in my fitness where I had, like, let's say, the waistline fat. You see some evidences that you're not in a perfect physique. I feel like when I went to the swimming pool, I realized I'm not the best perfect shape. So I want to, like, I need to burn down some fat because it's not that attractive to look myself. And so I had these insecurities, and that is also one of the reasons why I show up to the gym and say I need to burn down those fats. So I have a purpose because I have visual evidences in me that says that I need to be better because I see them in the mirror. I see that I have a lot of fatty tissues around me. I need to burn. But in terms of mental fitness, is there any evidence that I could see? Oh, I'm thinking too much. How do I perform? So what are the cues one could get that they're overwhelmed with a lot of thinking habits like me? I think a lot. So for
For
me, if you
sure.
want to give advice, what you will do?
To start off, I would really like to say that I just think that physical appearance and the way we look is overrated, and
Okay.
mental fitness, the things we should work on, things people can't take from us, our
Mm,
personality, our character, our self confidence, it's underrated. I mean,
mm,
who don't like people who have good communication skills, who know how to, react to different situations? We cannot stop life happening to us. Life is always going to happen, but the
mm,
way we react to different situations is crucial.
mm,
If we don't
mm,
react properly, it's
mm,
going to ruin our lives. And
mm,
it does, because the way we react to things, it's it's very dangerous.
mm,
We show too much anger, we show too much frustration, and it affects our health. It
mm,
affects our mood. That frustration leads up to a specific mood, and that mood leads to depression, and it's, a vicious cycle. So it's really how to, work on your mental aspect to become mentally strong and resilient. And what was your question? I missed on that.
yeah, you covered one half of it to realize that you need this. What should I do to know that I need to work on my mental fitness? So like my physical, well-being, I know that I have fatty tissues. I'm working on working out in a gym. So is there any cues visually that I could see that I should focus on my mental well-being, mental fitness? How do I know that I need to work on my mental
Okay,
fitness?
like if we talk about thoughts, we cannot say that we won't get negative thoughts and we won't get those thoughts. We are going to get thoughts all the time,
Yeah.
but we should know how to manage them. Like,
Okay.
we should be aware that thoughts are there, and just understand that we don't have to react on those thoughts. For example,
Mm,
when we wake up in the morning, some mornings we have a lot of thoughts. So just having this habit of, it's called morning pages, that you write everything that is in your mind, and it can be
mm,
anything. And when you write it on a piece of paper in the morning, it really helps. And
mm,
sometimes there's a lot of there are a lot of things that have to, get emptied from your mind. That's a very good way. But then
mm,
you also understand that sometimes there are repetitive patterns of thoughts. Then those you
mm,
have to really journal through and ask your questions. Why am I getting these thoughts, and why are these recurring? And not just that, you said that why you should work on mental fitness. You should work on mental fitness because you want to perform better, you want to show up better. If you go to work, of course you have the intention to go with your best energy, and you want to, have you want to have good interaction with your colleagues, and you just want to be your best. Now when you visualize, this is a major part of what I've learned and what I do, visualization.
mm,
When you
mm,
visualize your day ahead, how you want to show up
mm,
to the world, to yourself, it rewires your brain. Your brain has seen that beforehand. Your brain has seen it, and it becomes easier for the brain, and you become more motivated, and you feel the feelings already. You make your body, you create those feelings before it has actually happened, and you feel the energy to go to the work. For example, some days, we all have those days when we don't feel like going to work. Now when you visualize the way you want to show up and the way you want to feel after you open your eyes, it's a game changer. I do it all the time.
mm,
Now there are,
mm.
of course, there are days when I don't feel good, or maybe there's this amazing day I've been looking forward to, but on that particular day I don't wake up feeling my best. I would visualize, and it helps me in like minutes. And it does. I have
Mm,
experienced it, and I do it all the time. Sometimes I would visualize for 5 minutes a day. Sometimes,
mm.
if I'm not my best, I might do 30 minutes. Sometimes I would do 10 minutes in the morning and then 10 minutes in the evening. So it's very flexible. It's all about, making the habit stick. Even when we go to the gym, at the beginning, you won't, lift 20 kgs immediately. No, you won't do that. You would start off with light weights, and then you would build up that habit. Similarly, for mental fitness, start slowly, and then eventually, when you'll see the results, you will for sure make time for it. That's how
So
I did.
here's a scenario, right? I have a lot of thoughts in my mind. I occasionally journal whenever I have moving thoughts, like thoughts that really like, this is something that hurts me hard, or teaches me a lesson. I write them down. I have voice notes, but I also think a lot. So which means that I have a lot on my plate on a given day that you intentionally park, postpone, procrastinate because I'm actually having way too much on my plate. Now, this is a problem because I am super ambitious. I'm super optimistic that I could do a lot of stuff, but I also am a human being. So I have technically some limitations physically and mentally. In my scenario, what could a piece of advice that you could give me and say, hey, do this, you can get better results? Because I am having a lot of thoughts, just because today I'm making a podcast. I also have a lot of things that I have to do with making a video, and I have listed out a lot of activities, but I usually don't do on the same day. I probably postpone most of them, and I feel like, am I progressing? Am I doing my job? Why am I escalating a lot of tasks? Why am I postponing a lot of tasks? Or is it something that I should actually be realistic and say, four is too much, let's do two and write down two? Give me some tips on, give me your advice
Now,
on that.
my question to you is that what are those thoughts? Are the thoughts about general things like thoughts related to work, or how are those thoughts?
I will tell
Because
you. So if I go to job, the first 4 5 hours, I'm focused on, let's say, workshops or meetings or calls or my personal tasks in the job. Afternoon, I my energy goes a bit down. Of course, I have good food, but my energy goes down. But I am, let's say, following up with activities. After 3 4 p.m., I head to the gym. Now, for from gym until I go to bed, I had enough personal tasks that I'm not able to finish myself. Things that I want to do for my podcast, things that I want to do for my social media. For It could also be a time to spend with my friend, or planning on the next video, planning on the next article. So I feel like, what should I do to
I understand.
still see some progress, but not think like I'm not doing more of them, most of them.
Now, here the problem is not thoughts.
Okay,
I've seen here the problem is not thoughts.
okay.
We have to understand that we are human beings. Now, if you go
Uh,
to work and you are working from 8 to 4, how can you expect that you are going to be productive throughout the day? How can you expect that?
but
That
that is how I
you
think.
Now that you have finished work and now you expect that you have to do these many tasks. Here I would say it's really important for us to understand that we are human beings and our energy
Mm,
levels are not the same every day.
mm,
And set realistic goals for yourself. Uh, Even I would beat myself up that I'm not doing enough.
mm.
Set realistic goals and write down which ones are the most important ones. Now,
The
if you have
prioritization.
prioritize, make a priority list. Now, if you know that you do have time, you have 4 or 5 hours and there are 4 5 different tasks, see your energy levels and
Mm,
make a priority that which one is the most important one, and then do it according to that.
mm,
And we cannot do everything at once because that's
mm,
not how human beings are. We are human
mm,
beings, we're not human doings. We need to
mm,
understand that making a priority list really helps. It even helps
mm,
me. It takes off the burden what has to be done, and just be practical. Instead of putting 4 or 5 things, just put one,
mm,
and make sure that you give your whole 100% to that.
mm,
That
mm,
really lifts the burden because we
mm.
can't do everything. That Let's just be honest, we can't do everything.
And I'm going to give you another situation. Now imagine a person who is studying in Denmark, okay, full-time education, and then he or she is in his or her final semester, final program, final year, looking for a job. So now he or she is going to an internship somewhere while studying. She or he has to pass the exam, and at the same time have to do some, let's say, work for the company. So ideally, they're doing a lot of tasks. One for the university, there's also something for the job that they want to do. So they end up ideally building up some kind of stress because there's a lot of things at stake. You need the job at some point when the internship is good, but you also need the grades to be able to graduate. In this situation, what is something ideal that one should do to be able to have a balanced life and also have a healthy mindset?
You know what? No matter how busy you are and no matter how
Mm,
many tasks you have, I totally understand that you have to do your work related to your university, and then you also have work related to your professional other work. But it's really about managing your time and giving your 100%. Often
mm,
what we do is we are ruminating over what we have to do and we don't give our 100%. If we
mm,
really give our 100% and give 2 hours to one task and then 2 hours to one task, I
mm,
am sure we all can do it.
mm,
And then also really comes down to, like, if that task requires a lot of energy, make sure to do that task on time. where your energy is at the highest. For example, for me,
mm,
it's in the mornings. So in the mornings,
mm,
I would do all the deep work. But in the afternoons, where I don't have a lot of energy, I might, do quality assurance. I would,
mm,
polish my writing or do things that does not require a lot of, energy or
mm,
my focus. So it's all about understanding your energy, that
mm,
at what point of the day your energy is the highest, and do deep work at that time. And then in other times where you think that your energy is not the highest, make sure that you're doing things that require less energy on that time, for example
mm.
emails or university stuff, which is less energy taking. That's my
Mm.
advice. And
Okay.
time blocking.
Time blocking. Yeah, I guess I think time blocking is one of the best things. So you kind of know around this time what should I be done with, or what should I focus on, or what should I work with, and just reserve the calendar. So I have the big picture, major
Yeah.
milestone that I do on the day. I do that actually, but sometimes I also have overlapping meetings, and then I have to like move my time blocks up and down, reprioritize, and then at some point one of the time blocks goes to the other day, and it keeps moving some of the other time blocks, but I get the idea. I think time block is one of the best things that I've been doing so far. Okay, now I have a specific question. So let's say expats working in Denmark, spouses or trailing spouses in Denmark, they reach out to you and say, hey, I'm struggling to find a job, or I'm not able to find a job and I'm stressed, or maybe I'm someone who wants to study because I have a lot of time. So to those audiences listening to this podcast, what would be your number one advice? Because they are also stressed, they're not able to find a job, and they're confused if they have to do a master's because they have a lot of time. What would be your piece of advice for those expats or trailing spouses in Denmark?
I personally feel that stressing over that you are not able to find a job won't make it easier. I
Mm,
remember that for me, I was really focused on that I wanted a job and I tried my best, but I was just called for two interviews, and one
mm,
of the interviews I made it to the second round, and I was really
mm,
hopeful that I would get the job. And I can imagine for expats, for me, I knew the language, I didn't have problem with the Danish language, but even then I couldn't find a job. So I can
mm,
completely imagine what life is for expats, and I totally understand that we all have bills to pay. But I think we also need to understand that we cannot make things happen which are not meant for us. Whatever is meant for us is going to come our way, so we cannot, think and stress over things which are not just
mm,
meant to be for us. So it's very important in those times to be nice to yourself and to be gentle to
mm,
yourself, because often when we don't get job we start to doubt our own abilities. That's what I did,
mm,
that maybe
mm,
I'm not competent enough, maybe I don't have the skills. But it's not like that. It's just that you are not the right fit for the company. So
mm,
it's very important to be gentle to yourself and to be nice to yourself and treat yourself like a best friend. Treat yourself like if your best friend had a similar situation like you, how would you treat her? Because we don't treat ourselves like our best friends. We don't. We beat ourselves up. We say, why?
mm,
We are just so harsh to ourselves. So it's very important to be gentle to yourself and kind to yourself, and also to make sure that uh, during those stressful times, you are giving time on things you love, spending time on your hobbies with your family, going out in nature. I think that's crucial. That's something I would advise. And don't let that, take. I'm not saying that you shouldn't feel the rejection. Feel it, because they
mm,
say feel it to heal it. Feel it and then
mm,
release it, but don't let those feelings, uh, take over your sanity, because then we end up
mm,
in depression and in anxiety and in a
mm,
rut we don't want to fall into, and then
mm,
getting out of that rut is very difficult. So be aware and take your time. Take a day if you
mm,
want, but
mm.
not more than that.
Rabail, what would be your offer to expats, and what do you do with your current venture to help to address these issues? Explain about your current venture to the audiences
So
listening to this show.
I am very much active on LinkedIn. I write on LinkedIn where I share mental fitness tips and techniques which are completely for free. I also have a newsletter which you can subscribe to. It's called Mindset Mastery Weekly, where I send out 5 actionable tools um, to develop a resilient mindset every week to your meals. And I also have started this initiative of coaching people on their mindsets. So it really depends that how much time you want. So it's very subjective. For someone it might be 4 weeks, for someone it might be 8 weeks, for someone it might be 12 weeks. Now
Mm.
there's this myth, and I know how it feels, and because I've also been there, we all want a magic pill, and we all want it to go
Yes,
away in minutes, but that's not how it works. Even
come on.
when even even when we want to lose weight, we don't stand on the weight machine every day. We don't hit the training 2 hours a day or 5 hours a day won't help in our weight loss journey. It's all about
Mm.
consistency. And when you
Mm.
do it in a consistent manner, it's more sustainable and your weight loss is sustainable. Same for the
Mm.
mind.
Mm.
You work every day. Even when I was working on myself, I couldn't see
Mm.
the changes, the difference. But now, when I see back, I have come a long way. So it's all
Mm.
about trusting the process, and eventually everything is going to fall into its place.
Amazing, Rafael. Rafael, thank you so much for being on the show. For audiences listening to this podcast, I have attached the link to reach out to Rafael in case if you need coaching or if you want to subscribe to her newsletter about mindset mastery. And Rafael, thank you so much again for being on the show, sharing your tips and also your perspectives on your journey and also on mindset mastery.
Thank you
Have a
for
good
having me.
one.
Thank you for having me. And if
Yeah.
you'd like to connect, you can find me on LinkedIn where I share mental fitness tips and techniques. Feel free to send me a DM. I am more than happy to answer any questions related to mental fitness.
Great. There you go. See you. Bye.